for me, I've had to sit myself down and really think before I react or think before I speak, and just try to find ways of coping with whatever I'm going through. And sadly, I'm still coping, trying to find ways to cope with it on my own, because I don't want to be selfish and pull in my family members or anybody that's around me into my sad or depressed feelings.
Any of my brothers that are out there, struggling with their deployment or, life in general, I tell them that, hey, to stay strong and to keep holding on and to understand, you're here for a reason, and that, your life and what you're doing does have purpose. Hey everyone, this is Greg Washington, and welcome to the next episode of Guards Down. Today I have with me Trey. What's going on, Trey Artis?
Hey, what's going on, Greg?
From Fayetteville, North Carolina. How you doing today?
All right, good.
Good. All right, well look, tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
All right, hey, well I'm Trey Artis. I'm a sergeant first class in the U.S. Army, active duty. I've been going on 17 years. I hit 17 years in November. I have a background of 5 deployments, 4 of those 5 combat. So there was some type of enemy contact that I had to deal with. I'm married. I have 3 kids, and hey, I'm ready for retirement. 3 years to go, and I'm up out of here.
I know that, right? So first, let me say thank you for your service and what you've done, for our country and also for your family. I know 4 deployments can take a toll on anyone,
Oh yeah.
Afghanistan and Iraq.
Yeah, so I got 3 to Iraq. I got 1 to Dubai or United Emirates, and then 1 to Afghanistan.
Got you.
Total 5.
Okay. Shoot, a total of 5. Well, man. All right. So just to get started, of course, our show and episode is about dealing with trauma and grief and how different cultures view it, treat it, cope with it, and heal. Right. And so I first want, to start out, with just that introduction of it, and, just get into like the questions of, what experience have you had dealing with trauma or complicated grief?
So for me, so I am diagnosed with PTSD. Something that I've dealt with is, of course, from combat, I was one of my first deployments. I was an 18-year-old or 19-year-old in Iraq in the middle of Ramadi, and that was a 15-month deployment, and we were thinking it was only going to be a 12-month deployment, but it ended up being 15 months. But I've had to deal with losing friends. I've had to deal with losing battle buddies. I've been shot at multiple times. I've had grenades thrown at me, blown up through IEDs, sniper shots at me and my team. So that's the bulk of the trauma that I've dealt with. I've experienced, mortar rounds with other deployments, but just those incidents from that first deployment are the main ones that stick with me.
Got you. Man, well, I know that is a lot. And, my whole thing with dealing with trauma and also dealing with grief is, and I read this amazing book, it's called The Body Keeps the Score. And like, it talks about how everything that you go through, even though you may mentally, try to move past it, your body keeps, the retention of it. So whether it's anxiety, whether it's depression, whether it's panic attacks, the et cetera, your body tends to stay in that heightened tense of that moment, right? From the trauma you experience. So with that, what collateral damage have you had to deal with from your deployments?
So, believe it or not, I felt everything that you've just said. I've dealt with depression, and these traumas are actually about 13. Let me see. Yeah, about 13 years old. So, I've dealt with depression. I've dealt with anger issue, just snapping on people for no reason. I've dealt with feeling out of place, like, being around large crowds. It was some things I wouldn't even want to participate in with my family, because of that trauma. Like I said, anger issues, feeling isolation, just wanting to be isolated. But one of the main ones is probably not feeling like I don't belong, in certain groups or certain areas, but also nightmares and the regular, things like that.
Got you. Okay. So I mean, I'm definitely with you on all of those, and I mean, like we've shared like some similar experiences, right? And so I often believe that I go back to like that saying of a person growing up with a wooden spoon versus a person growing up with a silver spoon in their mouth learns to deal with things differently. And so my question to you is, did your parents or someone, else teach you how to deal with grief and trauma growing up?
So believe it or not, I always came up thinking that I had like the worst childhood, or I came up in the worst way. But now that I'm older and I'm a little bit wiser to what was going on, my family was definitely there. I had a great support system. I come from a military background, so I had a lot of positive male and female influences in my family. So when I started to go through stuff, I could talk to my brother about it. He could tell me how to deal with things. My mom, she was always praying for us and praying for the family and all of my battle buddies. So for me, I was able to have, yes, that support system, even when I didn't think it was there. A lot of times I try to deal with things on my own, but I did have that support system. Just not necessarily telling me how to deal with grief, but allowing me to be able to find it on my own as well, and understand it in my own way and get through it in my own way.
Gotcha. Man, so you talk about having to, be on your own. Of course, everybody established that baseline, as a kid, just, once you learn, what it is, because, as you're young, you don't know. So what you're told to accept, you just kind of accept. And as you get older, you learn from there. So learning about grief, learning about trauma, and about the world in general, what are some of the signs that you notice that you're dealing with grief and trauma?
So some things that I deal with or even dealt with coming up, we always want to portray that we're strong. Us as men, we want to portray that we're strong and we got it handled. So something that we don't do is seek help. We don't go and want to talk to people because we don't want to look weak. We don't necessarily want people to look down upon us or look at us as just another sad story. So for a lot of us men, we just try to deal with it and we keep it inside. And believe it or not, that's one of the worst things that we can do, especially dealing with trauma.
Yeah, is just keep it held in.
Yep.
No, I agree. I know for me, like it took me a year just to even open up. And I know I have classmates that still can't say some of, my favorite people's name, because they were taken too soon. Right.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of folks suffer in silence, and you know that's a breakdown, right? That takes a toll on the body. It takes a toll on the mental. So once it takes that toll on the mental, it starts to take the toll on the body in itself.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's like that trifecta effect where like if you don't seek help, and it doesn't have to be professional, but if it's someone that you can trust, someone that you can talk to and confide in, if you don't let it out, like it eats you from the inside out. And
Oh yeah.
And you can probably attest to it. So, you know, just understanding the signs, the feelings, and the thoughts of, you know, of what a person with trauma or grief goes through, like that resonates, right? Let's go back to your support system, right?
Mm-hmm.
What were some of the biggest things that helped you, right, when it comes to your support, right? What can someone do to support a person dealing with grief and trauma?
So for me, something that helped me was actually being allowed, and I'm speaking from a husband's perspective right now. Something that helped me was actually being allowed to have my time. You know, sometimes we're dealing with stuff like this, you know, we want to be just left alone. We want to get that isolation. We want to be able to figure out on our own sometimes. And then sometimes we get the opposite to where we just need somebody to listen. So that's something that helped me out. Just having someone, as in my wife, that just listened to my stories. Because like you just said, it takes a while for us to even want to talk about it. So when we actually are at the point to where we can talk about it, we're not necessarily looking for a response to whoever we're talking to. Sometimes we just want to get it out and let it out and know that there won't be any judgment. You won't look at it sideways or weak, as I stated earlier, you know, and just listen and just have that support of knowing that, hey, everything that I'm saying, you know, someone's listening to me. I'm finally able to get it off my chest because I'm comfortable with doing it, and there's no judgment in it. So that's definitely something that I would recommend a lot of people that's dealing with someone that deals with this stuff take into consideration, that sometimes we just need someone to listen, and sometimes we might just need to be alone and deal with it in our own way.
Indeed. Well, look, let me take a moment to just send some kudos to the wife for being supportive to you.
Oh yeah.
I know it takes a lot from, you know, a marital standpoint to, you know, to do this, because being in the military is not easy. It's a whole different culture in itself, and the things that we go through and what we do is not normal, right? So you're going out on these deployments, you're going out in the wire, and you know, you're got your gun in hand, your rifle, and you have this heightened sense of alert, you know, and you're going after bad guys or making sure, you know, you guys are safe, right? That's not the same as being back in the civilian world and going to Starbucks to get your coffee in the morning and then going to work, you know, and dealing with the soft corporate world, right? So,
exactly.
So definitely kudos to her for, you know, being able to help and deal with it.
Oh yeah. I gotta say though, hey, when you first get back, you be on that same mindset though.
Right.
You be on that same mindset. You go out and you still looking, and you go underneath a bridge and you still looking like, hey, what's going on up there? And not even realize I'm at home. I can relax a little bit.
Correct. And so and that brings us to like you know, the next point, right? What was the toughest part of the journey, of the process? And for me, it was the transition back home. So, you know, to be on deployments and you're out there for, you know, 9 to 15 months, depending on, you know, what branch of service you're in, or, you know, or what the mission is. And then you come back home and you're still at this heightened sense of, you know, awareness. That transition was the hardest for me. What about for you?
Yes, I can agree 100%. Definitely just the transition coming back. And the crazy thing about it is the way the Army was back then when I was going through these deployments, it was back to back. So I never fully got the opportunity to be able to heal from one deployment before I went to another one and dealt with some of the similar things. so it was just like a constant thing. But yes, I agree 100% the transition, trying to transition back to the civilian world, being out there and driving in your regular your regular car, what I'm saying, not an up armored vehicle. And, you just, where I would see trash in Iraq, my mindset at home, would be, hey, is that an IED? You know what I'm saying? It's like, dude, I'm tripping. Like, you snap out of it, like, man, I'm tripping. I ain't even got to think like that no more. You know what I'm saying? Or where you might have, some fireworks or something going off, and then you get triggered. You know what I mean? You think it's a mortar coming in, or somebody taking pop shots at you or something like that. So definitely that transition was hard. One of the hardest things, and being able to sleep comfortably, without having to try to have one eye open, knowing that you are in a safe place. Yeah, no question that transition hurt.
Yeah.
Hey guys, it's Jerome. Greg and I wanted to invite you to the community that we created for the whole Guards Down family. Jump on Facebook or check the show notes for the Guards Down Facebook group. There you'll be able to find a community of folks who are committed to raising awareness about complex grief and PTSD. Look forward to chatting with you guys in the group. Now let's get back to the episode.
And so with that transition, it's a process, right? And it's not something that's overnight. It's not something that can just be, turned off or turned on, like, a flick of a switch. Like it's a true process. And understanding that hurt people, right?
Oh, yeah.
In your process of dealing with your trauma and grief, have you hurt anyone in the process, and what did you have to do to make amends?
Yes. So I can definitely say I've hurt my family. Like I said, a lot of times I would just react without thinking because I was still on the edge somewhat. So, I know for a fact that I probably said some mean things to my wife without meaning it, always being moody, and my kids definitely have to deal with that on even up to now, because like you said, PTSD is something that just stays with you. It's not going to be an easy thing, and we get triggers all the time. So, for me, I've had to sit myself down and really think before I react or think before I speak, and just try to find ways of coping with whatever I'm going through. And sadly, I'm still trying to find ways to cope with it on my own, because I don't want to be selfish and pull in my family members or anybody that's around me into my sad or depressed feelings. But yeah, I've definitely hurt my loved ones around me without even trying to. It's almost like a reaction or a reflex.
And how did you make amends?
Honestly, just being open, just being open and just being able to actually talk about it, apologizing, understanding that, hey, I am going through something. I do need some help. And, just being blunt about the situation and blunt about what it is. And also looking at myself and knowing that, hey, I can't live like this. It's not fair to those that I love around me. So just trying to make adjustments for myself.
Yeah. Okay. With all of that, what kept you going when you wanted to give up?
The very same thing my family. Hey, having a son, having kids, knowing that there's people that look up to me. Sometimes us as fathers, we forget that our moods has a major effect on our families. With us being the head of the household or us trying to be the head of the household, our mood, if I come downstairs happy, that's going to reflect into my family and everybody will be happy. If I come downstairs and I'm in a bad mood, everybody else going to be quiet and nervous acting around me, and that's what I don't want. So, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, man. I agree with that, man. And I think it was for me too. Everybody, of course, deals with, their trauma and grief in different ways. I remember how I dealt with mine, and it was reckless, right? Especially in the beginning, it was very reckless. And
Yeah.
I couldn't apologize to the friends I lost, let alone to my family and friends enough about, like, you know, that transition and what I was going through, and just how, like, I just couldn't get control. And so, man, like, I definitely agree with you, you know, on that part. And so, like, I had to come and figure out how to, like, correct and stop my destructive behaviors.
Yeah.
So, you know, what caused you to correct your destructive behaviors?
Honestly,
Was there a turning point?
I would say that a turning point for me was possibly losing my wife.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that was a turning point for me. I found myself at a bad place with my wife. I was drinking, you know what I'm saying? Like you said, it was starting to get a little reckless just to deal with my personal issues, you know what I mean? And like I said, that was not fair to my family. But when I started to realize the effect that it had, the effect and the strain that it had on my marriage, you know, I was like, hey, I gotta get this right. I gotta get myself together. Because when you see and you know that it's you, that's like a slap in the face. You know what I'm saying? It's like, dude, this is me. I can't blame nobody else about anything but me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what it was for me about you know, possibly losing my family. Something that I worked so hard to try to get and have. That was the turning point for me.
Got you. Okay, so with that turning point, did you seek professional help?
Actually, no. I actually didn't, and that's the sad part about it. I didn't seek professional help. What I will say though is I do have experienced, you know, people in my family. Like I said, my brother was somewhat my counselor. You know, as leaders and soldiers in the Army, we're all pretty much counselors in itself. Because of all the experiences that we get in the military. But so one of my counselors, I would say, was my brother, not professional. You know, I didn't go out to see any MFLAGs or behavioral health or nothing like that. I utilized my family, someone that I trusted, you know, to help get through that.
Right. And so, I mean, so that leads to the point of, you know, like the question I was going to ask, right? If you felt like someone understood you and your background, would you have had a likelihood of going and seeking professional help, right? You know, if it was offered to you.
Yes. Honestly, I think that's one of the reasons why we don't go seek help. Because for one, we don't think people will understand where we're coming from. You know, it's definitely not a race thing, but it's like, I personally feel like we grow up different, you know, from other races. And it's harder for us, especially as Black men, to want to open up and be understood. And I would feel like that's why it was easy for me to go to my brother, because I know he's dealt with and he's felt the same exact things that I felt. And the reasons to why I don't want to go speak to anyone or make myself vulnerable, that's why I felt comfortable talking to my brother about it.
Got you. And just to give, you know, like a background, was your brother a soldier as well?
Yes. So my brother actually retired about 3 or 4 years ago. His last position was Sergeant Major. So, yeah.
So you had somebody that already been in your shoes and been through it. So you were able to, indeed.
Exactly.
And,
Yep.
and I think that's like one of the beauties of a strong family, right? Is because, you know, you have your elders that have been through some of the things you've been through. And you, of course, you know, you're going out, you're becoming a man. And at the same time, you're listening to the wisdom and advice that's being passed on to you. So like it helps, right? And if you take that wisdom and advice, like you can learn to get through it.
Oh yeah.
And so, you know, like that's awesome. That's awesome that you had such a loving family and support group like that, you know, to go through.
Oh yeah.
So looking back, if you could give your younger self any advice, what would you say?
If I could give my younger self some advice, I think I would tell myself to stay focused, you know, stay focused, get as much knowledge as I can to understand what I'm going through. You know, take advantage of you know, leaders, you know, my family, take advantage of all the resources that the military gives us as soldiers. So that even if I don't want to talk to my leaders, you know, there are resources that's out there for us that'll get us through things as a soldier. So that's something that I would tell myself.
So when you say stay focused on what?
Stay focused on me and a bigger picture of my life. You know what I'm saying? Instead of getting caught up in negative energies and getting caught up in things that I knew could possibly lead to my destruction. Just stay focused on my bigger plan, what I want out of life as a soldier, as a man, and you know, set them goals and reach them sooner. Reach them sooner. Don't wait till the last minute.
Yeah. Okay, so same question, but because I heard the little ones in the background, right? So what advice or what lessons would you teach your kids about dealing with trauma and grief?
Something I would teach my kids. I would honestly say that it's okay to be emotional. Especially for my son. You know, I would tell my son it's okay to be emotional. It's okay to be afraid, and it's okay to not know what to do in certain situations. But the advice would be to not deal with it on your own. You're never by yourself. You're not alone. You know, talk to somebody. Even if you feel like you can't come to your parents, myself, you know, as long as you have somebody that you feel like you can talk to, we all need that.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be my advice.
That's beautiful. Like that's really good advice. Like I like that. I really do. Because I mean, I've done it in previous podcasts and I heard it, and it was one of those things where it was like, excuse the language, but shit happens. And it's just out of your control, right? And so when things happen, you just have to learn to accept it and learn to adjust and grow and heal from it, right? So, and just have an open mind and being positive about it. So like, man, like I like that. I like that. I like that a lot, actually.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, getting ready to wrap it up. What are some resources that you would share to tell someone to take advantage of that could help them?
Okay. So with that, are we speaking in a military aspect, me talking to my soldiers, or just period?
Both. Because with this, we're reaching out to veterans and non-veterans, right? Because a lot of people think that PTSD is just for military, but it's not. Anyone who has been through a traumatic experience and has dealt with trauma, right? You can develop PTSD from it. So I mean,
100%. Hey, so I would say, you know, I'll start off with the military first. You know, so for military soldiers, hey, take advantage of chaplains, military family life counselors. All right. They're called the MFLEX. They're actually embedded within your battalions and probably have an office right next to your chaplain or somebody like that. Hey, just take advantage of those personnel. Behavioral health of course, that's their job, is dealing with someone who's having behavioral issues. So definitely seek behavioral health. You got Military One Source. You can go online, and they'll take you through all type of different things as well. So for the civilian side, same thing. Just try to reach some type of counselors, some type of counseling, and find the one that works for you. You know, if you go in to talk to someone and you get a weird feeling, or you're not feeling that energy, hey, that's okay. Find somebody else. You know what I'm saying? So I would say resources are, to go seek counseling, and even small things for yourself that you could do. I would say start doing some yoga. You know, something that I've learned about PTSD is as long as you're staying active and you're keeping your mind going and focused on something, that can help you as well. So resources, I would say, hey, go to the gym, go get you some workouts in, go start doing classes. You know what I mean? Get with the book club, something that's going to help you breathe in and make you calm down when you're having anxiety or thinking about these situations. So that's something that could definitely help out on the civilian sector as well.
Got you. No, and I completely agree with that, because, like, it's a living in the present, right? And so you have to actively train your body and your mind to live in the present.
Yeah.
Because, if you are living in the past, right, that's depression. If you're living in the future and worried about, tomorrow and what's going to happen, that's anxiety.
Yeah.
Right? So training yourself to live in the present and be in the now is like the most important thing that anyone can do. So, yoga, mindful meditation, just learning gratitude and appreciation of now, like, like you said, is a real big key to just like being able to, like, cope and be in it. So I definitely agree with that.
Oh yeah.
Last words. What wisdom or encouragement would you offer, someone else that may be out there that is probably going through or new to it, or is going through what, some of the things you've been through?
So some words of encouragement that I would give is, hey, just understand that you're not by yourself. Whether you're a soldier or a civilian, hey, you're not alone. Somebody cares about you. You are worthy. You are meant to be here, and you can get through anything that you're going through. I would highly recommend, finding yourself. Understand what you're going through. Understand it so that you can get through it. But you are not by yourself. Continue to be strong. Keep pushing forward, and hey, it's always somebody that's looking for you, and always somebody that's there depending on you and looking and can't wait to see you be great. That we know that you're gonna be.
Indeed. I appreciate that, man. Anyone you want to shout out? What business ventures you got going on? Organizations you're a part of? Man, the floor is yours.
Hey, I just wanna shout out all small businesses. I'm actually, me and my wife, trying to work on something right now. It's a little early, so we're not gonna just throw it out there yet. But hey, we coming. We got some things in the works. Hey, I definitely want to shout out you, Greg, and everything that you're doing. This is a big platform, and this, believe it or not, this is the first time that I've been able to speak about this on this level. So this platform that you've created is great. It's a great idea. It's perfect. Do not back away from it. You got to keep this going, man, because I only see nothing but positivity coming from it, and I appreciate you reaching out to me.
Man, I appreciate that, brother. I really do. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, look, everyone, this is Greg and Trey. We are signing out with Guards Down, telling you guys to stay safe, for one, because COVID is still out there, even though, the city's opening back up, and to stay focused and stay engaged. All right, we're out. That's what it's really all about, giving yourself a fighting chance to just show what you got.